Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let's start our Saturday class with the prayers first. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo, Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhur Swaha, Tatsavitra Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Asto ma satgamya, tamso ma jyotirgamya, mrityurma amritam gamya. Om sahna bhavtu sahna bhunaktu saviryam karvavahi. Tejasvi navadhitamastu ma vidvishavahi. Om shanti shanti shanti. Let's open our Yog Darshan books. Chapter 2, Sadhana Pad. And we ended our class with verse number 31. Okay? Where Rishi Patanjali is telling us that these yams are not affected by the factors of class, place, time, and circumstance. They are universally applicable and constitute the great vow. So they are the Mahavrata. That's why we see these vrats in every scripture is mentioned. Every faith, every saint and sage, they talk about it. Ahimsa, satya, ste, brahmacharya, aparitra. Those are the 5 yams. So now we are going to start with the verse number 32, where he is telling us what are the 5 niyams. So 5 yams, 5 niyams. And yam niyams are the first 2 steps on the ladder of yoga. Okay. Shaucha, santosha, tapah, svadhya, yeshvara, pranidhanani, niyamah. Shaucha means purity, the cleanliness, the condition in which light shines. That's the Shaucha. Santosha, satisfaction, contentment, lack of wanting. Santosha. Tapah, austerity, penance, standing against sense cravings. That's tapah. Svadhya, study of the scriptures, self-study, self-reflection. See, these Sanskrit terms are so deep, just with one word of English does not explain them. Yeshvara pranidhanani. Yeshvara means the highest divinity, protector, guide, Yeshvara. Pranidhanani means complete surrender. And how do we surrender? When we offer our actions and the fruits of the actions to Him. That's surrender. Surrender doesn't mean just putting your head down. Surrender does not mean just going to the temple and put $1 over there. That's not surrender. Surrender means offering our actions, doing every action for God, and not getting attached to the fruits of the actions. So trustful surrendering to the highest divinity is Ishvara Pranidhanani. Niyam. Niyam means the observance, the discipline not to be ignored. That's a niyam. कहते हैं ना, जिंदगी में कुछ नियम होने चाहिए. Niyam. So purity, contentment, austerity, self-study, and the trustful surrender to Ishwar are the niyams. So 5 of them. Memorize these 2. Shaucha, santosha, tapah, svadhyaya, Ishwara pranidhanani. I remember when I was little, growing up into the ashram, learning Kakaga, learning ABC, but learning and memorizing and repeating whenever the father, the guru asked. That was our duty. Okay? Because first we memorize, only then after we can slowly keep on climbing on this ladder. Niyam. So in the two preceding verses, Rishi Patanjali described 5 yams, restraints. When we are following the yams, we are actively refraining from violence, lying, stealing, misusing the senses, and holding material and emotional possessions. Okay, ahimsa satyaste brahmacharya aprigraha. Okay, we got to actively do it, refrain ourselves. And now he is describing 5 niyams, observations. So these are also very active practices. Shaucha, purity; santosha, contentment; tapah, austerity; svadhya, self-study; yeshvara, pranidhanani, trustful surrender to Ishvara. With these 5 niyams, Rishi Patanjali is laying the foundation for the remaining 6 limbs of yoga. Because these are the first 2, yam and the niyam. After that comes asana, pranayam, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Okay? These days we just jump to the asana only and we think we have become yogis. That is a grave mistake. Okay? So let's look at all these 5 little bit deeper. Shaucha, remember 2 kinds, external and internal. That means we got to maintain a high standard of hygiene. We got to keep our living space clean. We got to keep our bodies free of toxins. Sure, externally also we take a bath, we brush our teeth, but internally also we keep our body clean. But still that is just an external purification. When we talk about the internal purification, that really involves keeping our mind relatively free of karmic impressions. So internal purification is with the mind, external purification is with the body and the space where we live. Whether we bathe or whether we do the woman and the neti, that's all external because that is for the body we do. But we got to keep on removing the karmic impressions. Because the inner unrest is always propelled by these sanskars. So we got to learn how to calm that down too. And calmness will happen only when there's a cleanliness. And that's why Rishi Patanjali is saying Shaucha, the purity. Second one, he says santosha, not desiring more than we have. Contentment is both a mental state and also a process of being happy with what we have. It's not that we don't work hard to attain more, but we should be happy right now at this minute, wherever we are, whatever we have. Because without contentment, we'll never be able to slow the spinning wheel of karma sanskar chakra. Because that is the process through which the mental impressions motivate us to engage in actions. And through those actions, what happens? We further strengthen the mental impressions. So that's why this tapah is, santosha is extremely important. The contentment, be happy where you are. And next is the tapah. Tap is withstanding the pain caused by the pressure of the senses and our self-imposed resistance to that pressure. Until we reach the highest, there's a constant tug of war between the good and the pleasant, between our discrimination and our desires, between the forces of surrender and the forces of attachment. So tap is when we cultivate the capacity to withstand this pain. Legs want to go somewhere, keeping them on the meditation seat, because it's a time to meditate. Body wants to just lay in the bed, in the warm, cozy bed in the morning. Bringing the body out of that warm, cozy bed, doing your sadhana is tapa. Eyes want to see, hands want to touch, controlling them. Initially, there is a pain because we have given a free rein to this body and the mind. Go wherever you want, do whatever you want. But we don't understand what the consequences are. When the consequence happens, then we cry. These great rishis, the yogis, they're telling us, hey, live a life wisely. Withstand the pain which is caused by the pressure of the senses. Resist. These days people say, no, we have the freedom. With this term of freedom, we have really caused ourselves and the whole society in a great pain, a big disaster. So rishis tell us to cultivate the capacity to withstand the pain and adhere to the resolution, which is called tapah. Once a week, I will not eat anything. That's a tapah. For whole month, I will not buy anything for myself. Instead, I will give it to some worthy cause. That's a tapah. I will not turn on the TV, or I will not look at my phone after 7 o'clock. That's a tapah. So tapah can be at several different levels. There's always a resistance. Only then we build those strong muscles. Tapah. Let's look at svadhya. Svadhyaya involves studying spiritually uplifting scriptures and meditating on a sacred mantra. That's also a svadhyaya. Because when a guru has given you a mantra and you keep on repeating it, whether loudly or mentally, that's svadhyaya too. Study of the scriptures connects us with the experiences of previous seekers. And meditation empowers us with the direct experience. That's why both of them are part of svadhyaya. These two experiences demolish our doubts and they free us from fear. It's not that we just study something and then leave it alone. We got to reflect upon it. That is svadhyaya. That is the reason we have decided on Friday's class, we will go through what that great yogi of our time. He was not born in Dwapar or in the Treta or the Satyuga. We're going to read about his life story. Because these kind of stories, when we study something like that, we feel encouraged. We learn from their life stories. Because they don't tell us that we are special. So this is an autobiography. He has written to encourage us. And we should feel encouraged. But not just wishy-washy. We have to do the tapah. We have to practice the santosha and the shaucha and the hinsa. All those qualities we need to cultivate to walk on the path which they have left for us, these great yogis. And the fifth niyam is called yeshvara pranidhanani. As I was saying earlier, surrendering our actions and their fruits to the primordial teacher, the guru, gurus of the gurus, who is Ishwar. So surrendering to Ishwar means maintaining constant awareness of that highest truth. Remembering that God is with us always, everywhere. We cannot go anywhere where God is not. Nowhere. I remember from my childhood, when my mother used to tell her experiences of samadhi, whether she's in the bathroom or whether she is in the... We used to live in Shimla and that there was no indoor plumbing. There was a water flowing outside. And she'll go there to wash the clothes. And she says, he comes over there washing clothes with me. God is always with us. We got to just remember how to connect. And Ishwara Pranidhanani is this. It is a reminder that we are not subject to decay and death. Experiencing immortality is our birthright. All of us. Surrender to Ishwar means seeing that the karmic factors forcing us to remain caught in the cycle of birth and death are dissolving. We are here to dissolve them. Ishwar Pranidhanani is a state of freedom from doubt and fear. If we have a doubt or if we are afraid, that means we have not surrendered completely. Let me repeat it again. Ishwar Pranidhanani is a state of freedom from doubt and fear. Through trustful surrender to Ishwara, we succeed in turning our minds inward. And that's how we attain freedom from all the obstacles. So this is not just a small term, Ishwar Pranidhanani. It's very deep. So these 5 yams and niyams are subtle. Sure, on the surface, when we look at them, it seems like that they constitute a set of yogic ethics. But when we do a deeper analysis, each of these restraints and observances are independently powerful practices. Very powerful. If you master even one of them, you will see that how your quest for samadhi accelerate. So try to see, just make a little commitment that starting today, I'm going to watch at least one of them, bring more and more into my personality. Whether it's a tapah or Ishwar Pranidhanani, whichever you choose. Or satya. Okay, but you got to be fully committed to it though. And how to master these powerful practices if you want to, because for a yoga abhyasi, these are very important. How do we cultivate these great virtues is the subject of the next 2 verses. So these rishis keep on telling us, helping us how to cultivate. Because they understand that living in this world, to be fully established in them, it will take some practice. So they are helping us. Number 33. Vitarkabadhane pratipakshabhavanam. Vitarkabadhane. Vitark means afflicting thoughts. That means thoughts full of doubts, contradictions, or disturbing thoughts, or painful thoughts and feelings. That's Vitarka. Badhane. Arresting. Like a blocking or arresting, checking. That's Badhane. So arresting, afflicting thoughts. So block thoughts full of conflict. Vitarkabadhane. Pratipaksh, opposite, counteracting. That means belonging to the other side. Bhavanam, thinking. Or act of willful thinking. Bhavanam. So to arrest afflicting thoughts, cultivate thoughts opposed to them. These rishis, they understand that we go through anger also, greed also. And those kind of thoughts will bring negativity in our mind. Those are the afflictions. And as long as these afflictions persist, negative tendencies will keep on flowing through our mind. And why do we have those afflictions? Because we all, most of us, have very strong sanskars of these afflictions. From the sanskars, these negative thoughts dominate our mind more easily than the positive ones. For example, our tendency to compete with others, to conquer and eliminate them, is stronger than our tendency to collaborate with others, to support and embrace them. And this is all because of our afflictions, our sanskars. So afflictions are extremely subtle, deeply entrenched. We saw that in the beginning of this chapter. You should always go back. Verse number 4 through 9, we learned about these afflictions in this chapter, second chapter. Because in these 6 sutras, Patanjali is telling us the 5 afflictions are always present in our mind. Sometimes fully active, sometimes moderately active, and sometimes dormant. We learned that. When they are dormant, we are not aware of these afflictions. It's almost like they are sleeping. When they are fully active, they dominate us so completely that our sense of discrimination is swept away. So on either end, when they're sleeping or when they are fully up, we cannot do anything about them. We are only aware of being under their influence when they are moderately active. But then we got to be very vigilant about them. Because this awareness provides an opportunity to transform our negative tendencies. Okay, so we can handle them. There are numerous negative tendencies, powerful to agitate our mind and disturb our inner balance. We've been talking about the violence, the hinsa, because that is very powerful negative tendency in human beings. So in this verse, he is telling us that replace that with the positive. That is Vitarkabadhane pratipakshabhavanam. We know that violence is clearly destructive. It springs from fear, one of the fundamental affliction, fear, bhaya. So according to this sutra, the practice of non-violence requires us to arrest our violent tendencies by cultivating thoughts opposite to violence. Violence is an active phenomena, whereas non-violence, we just mistake it to be passive. So we think the absence of violence is a non-violence. But remember, passive non-violence has no power to extinguish the fire of violence. Non-violence must be as active as violence itself. This is what he's telling us. We got to have concrete steps to practice. If we have that violence tendency. Concrete steps if we have a doubt or a fear. Because otherwise the violent thoughts, they run through our mind. Before we know, they have really taken a big flight. Somebody tells us that somebody talked behind our back. Without even knowing for sure, we already create an image that that person is my enemy. That's how easily we just go into the negative tendency. We even create in our mind, how can I hurt that person now? That person talked behind my back. And we don't even know whether that's true or not. Or if somebody is doing a business with you, your business partner, and you just found out through some other sources that the person has been diverting money from the account. So immediately, what do you think? You don't pay attention how many years that person has been working for you or working with you. But in your mind, you say, I trusted this person for years. I thought he was my friend. I have done such a great deal for him. I never imagined he would steal from me. Just like a thought after thought after thought. So this is called a train of thoughts. But what is the opposite of that? What are you saying? What are you reinforcing? You are saying, I am good. He's bad. I am right. He's wrong. From this arises the desire to punish, desire for vengeance. We are no longer interested in justice. We want to eliminate the culprit. That is our goal. And at this point, the violence begins to manifest in our speech also, in our actions also. It doesn't stay only in the mind. Because thoughts, ultimately, they become the words and the actions. So what is he telling us what to do? He says, we must design a system of practice that neutralizes the force of violence. Actively do it, step by step, and point by point. In violence, the mind is churning out negative thoughts involuntarily. To practice non-violence, we have to train our mind to churn out the positive thoughts voluntarily. Why negative thoughts involuntarily, they keep on churning out? Because we have been doing it from life after life after life. Now we are at a point where we see the benefit of practicing these yam and the niyams. So we got to do it voluntarily. If somebody has been just speaking wrongly, it has become a habit. Then somebody says, no, if you want to be successful in any endeavor, you better learn how to speak properly. Then voluntarily they go through the speech therapists or learn on their own, pay some attention. This is exactly what we need to do with these negative tendencies. So to practice non-violence, we have to train our mind to churn out positive thoughts voluntarily. We accomplish this by a very methodical practice of contemplation. We have to remind ourselves that life is too precious to be consumed by friends and the foes. Loss and gain. We got to tell ourselves that I have already lost what was lawfully mine. In that example, if somebody cheated you, now I'm allowing myself to lose my inner peace and happiness. Losing your inner peace and happiness is much greater loss than losing a portion of my material wealth. You got to convince your mind. Material wealth comes and goes. And it is never going to go with us. But the mental peace or mental restlessness will go with us. What is more important to us? The yogi guru says, your mind. Furthermore, we got to tell ourselves that these occurrences are commonplace. Everybody has strengths and weaknesses. Maybe we did that too with this person, or we talked behind our friend in the past too. Now, if somebody else is talking behind my back, it's okay, forgive. We don't want to keep it in our mind or lose our peace of mind over these frivolous things. In worldly matter, I will do what needs to be done. It's not that we should not take actions. If somebody is talking against you, it's okay to sit down and talk with that person. But keeping the negativity in the mind is not okay. Or if somebody is cheating you, it's okay to sit down and talk to that person or take proper actions against that person. But mind should not get affected. This is what Rishi Patanjali is saying. So in worldly matters, do what needs to be done, but never at the cost of losing the pristine nature of the mind. We must adhere to the higher virtues of our heart. So these kind of contemplations cool the heat of the violence, help us conserve our mental energy for higher pursuits. Because with the help of the mind, we do everything here. And mind is the one which is going to take us into the higher realms. And if we don't pay attention to the mind can take us towards the lower realms too. Maneva manushyanam karnam bandha moksha. Remember those verses. And in the next sutra, Rishi Patanjali is offering guidelines for designing contemplative practices to nullify afflicting thoughts. So these two verses, they go hand in hand. So in other words, he is elaborating further on this. So I hope you understood this. I gave the example of only the violence, but other negative tendencies can be nullified the same way. because he says to arrest afflicting thoughts, cultivate thoughts opposed to them. And this is called pratipakshabhavanam. In fact, to keep our body healthy, we do the same thing. We bend forward. In our Hatha Yoga class, we bend backward. We stretch on the right, we stretch on the left. We roll on the back, we roll on the stomach. We stand on our feet and then we stand on our head also. The head stands, the hand stands, the shoulder stands. We twist on the right and twist on the left also. Pratipakshabhavanam. But over here, he is talking about the mind, because this Yoga Darshan is about the mind, not about the body. Mainly about the mind. So let's look at verse number 34. We'll just go through only the meaning of the words, and then it's such a deep verse. I would like you to study on your own first this week, and next Saturday we'll talk about it in detail. Vitarkaa hinsadayah kritakaritanumodita lobhakrodhamohapoorvaka mridumadhyadhimatra duhkhajnananantafala iti pratipakshabhavanam. I would like to know who would like to memorize this one, because I told you before we started this time, choose 10 verses to memorize. This is the long one. Long one. Vitarka. Vitarka means afflicting thoughts. Thoughts full of doubt and contradictions. Painful thoughts and feelings. Vitarka. Hinsadayah. Violence, etc. See, it's like a hinsa is violence. Adya means adi, etc. Or beginning with. Because everything starts with the ahimsa. Krit means done. Karit means made to do. Anumodita, consented. Lobh, greed. Krodh, anger. Moh, delusion. Purvakaha, preceded by. Mridu, mild, gentle. Madhya, intermediate. Adhimatra, exceedingly intense. Dukh is pain. Agyan, ignorance. Another word for agyan is avidya also. Anant, endless. Phala, fruits, results. Iti means thus. Pratipaksha, opposite, counteracting, or belonging to the other side. Pratipaksha, bhavanam, thinking, act of willfully thinking, contemplating. Violence and the others are afflicting thoughts. We put these thoughts into action by ourselves, or through others, or by implied consent. Like if somebody is hurting somebody, we are watching it and don't do something, that is a implied consent. You let that happen. Somebody is stealing, you don't raise your voice. Implied consent. These thoughts are propelled by greed, anger, or confusion. Lobh, krodh, moha. They are mild, intermediate, or intense. Mridu, madhya, adhimatra. We nullify these afflicting thoughts by realizing they bear unending fruit of pain and ignorance. So that means we got to contemplate upon it, think about it, that the fruits of these afflictions are many. So we'll stop it here today and then go into this verse in detail next week. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much.